Доброго вечора, наші слухачі. Я вже вдруге за сьогодні записую для вас вітання. Раді вас вітати на 104-му епізоді подкасту з інформаційної безпеки Security Team. З вами Аліска, Льоша, який помахає ручкою, і Тарас. Андрій залишився в потязі, і у нас гість буде, як там вийде. Зараз Льоша про нього скаже декілька слів, котрі не записалися при першій спробі. Але я вас попереджаю, це буде капець, тому що це було декілька спроб, це будуть переривання, я вангую. Але перед тим, як Льоша скаже ці декілька слів, я таки скажу про наші конференції. 26 жовтня буде ENG 14 в Українському домі. Ми на вас чекаємо. У нас все ще проходить Call for Speakers. Подавайтесь, якщо у вас є цікава тема, якщо у вас навіть просто є там життєвий досвід, яким ви хочете поділитися, або якщо не хочете, але він цікавий, то ви захочете ним поділитися, приходьте до нас. І 27-28 жовтня буде B-Sides Київ Отам. Ми вже сплатили передплату за будинок. Точніше, за 3 будинки. Там велика територія, велике місце для доповіді і воркшопів. Буде, як я це називаю, Одеса Стайл. Буде вечірка з обтяженням знаннями, скажімо так. Буде багато пива, будуть кальяни, будуть інші заохочувальні напої. Буде буде обмежений доступ. Для того, щоб потрапити на вечірку, ви маєте сплатити або 5 тисяч гривень, або отримати промокод від наших організаторів, який сильно, майже на 93% понижає вартість квитка. Але місць обмежене з урахуванням обмеженого місця. Це буде на 1,5 доби. Ми вас привеземо туди, потім відвеземо назад. Там можна буде заночувати. Ми сподіваємося, що вам це сподобається. І я сподіваюся, що я не з'їду з глузду. Льоша, тепер розкажи, будь ласка, пару слів, котрі не записались про нашого чудового, веселого і майже незрозумілого мені французького, англійського гостя. Італійського, вибачте, per favor.
На русском, на англійському.
Я думаю, почни можеш російською, але ми попередимо наших слухачів, що наш гість буде англійською розповідати, і ви навіть почуєте мою жахливу англійську. Навіть ще більш, Тарас, вибач, але ще більш жахливішу Тарасову англійську.
Окей, но мы сегодня запишем эпизод с
Мы записали, а что, услышите?
Да, надеюсь, мы записали. С профессором Яник Фратантонио из Еврокома. Это университет во Франции, который недавно стал известным. У них очень много статей прошло на большую конференцию ACM и CCS. Недавно одна из них, я думаю, тоже известна многим нашим security-ресерчерам, это Screaming Channels. Вот. Ну а сам Яник, он работает в Еврокоме, но на самом деле он недавно выпустился из Санта-Барбара, университета Санта-Барбара в Америке. У него очень много работ по поводу атак на Android, по поводу Android UI attacks, и очень много всего другого разного. Он является членом известной команды в CTF Shellfish, а также он является одним из организаторов DevCon CTF этого года, то есть участник Order of the Overflow. Вот, то есть поговорим о многом разном.
So, for example, one thing we were trying to attack was the accessibility service pop-up. So we were able to get accessibility service and then do a lot of other stuff. And now if you go on modern version of Android, on accessibility menu, every overlays disappears. And so you cannot do the attack anymore. But then we thought, well, maybe there are other sensitive apps that might be vulnerable to this. And wherever we looked, we found everything was vulnerable. And Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, and things like this. And what came out is that it's not these guys don't know about these problems. We actually notify them, and they understand, yes, we know about this, but we have no idea how to fix it. And so the current paper that we have is going to be more on the protection side. And so, it's a classic academic hope that somebody's going to pick it up. I already went to Google and pitched this idea. They told me it's reasonable, but I don't know what's going to happen. If they're going to pick it up or not, because it requires the system modification and performance override. When you need to deploy this stuff, it's always more complicated than what academics think. But yeah,
that's true. So the first UI attack was Cloak and Dagger, right? It's last year.
So we had that was last year. Then we had 3 years ago. It was called Google Confusion. I think it was called What the App Is Dead, where basically we show, this you can actually understand, the user clicked on the Facebook icon and then something pop-ups. We showed that we're like the fake to be Facebook, and people were fooled. On that paper, we are mostly exploring also on the defensive side. So we try to have some kind of replacement for the green lock. But again, it requires Android modification, and then I'm not super positive it's gonna be adopted. And that's one of the big open problems. So Google is trying to patch this by removing such channels. So the classic phishing attacks work by you have an application in the background, and then it tries to understand which app the user is interacting with. So maybe the attacker understands, the user clicked on the Facebook icon, so now it's time to pop up Facebook. Or, click on Gmail, let's try to pop up some fake Google thing. And Google is trying to limit these channels. So as of now, it's very difficult for an application to understand what's going on. It's very difficult to understand which app is on top, which app the user is interacting with, and so forth. But it's very far from being a problem solved, because an app can create a fake notification that seems to be like Facebook. The user clicks there, and then there is Facebook, which is what the user expects, and then you can steal username and password. Or you can create a fake shortcut that seems like the Facebook shortcut. There is nothing preventing this to do. And so in this case, you don't need such channel. You just create some, something that the user may click at a certain point. If the user clicks it, the user is expecting to see Facebook, and that's an open problem. There is no solution.
Yeah, I see. Could you actually explain a little bit in more detail, the Cloak and Dagger attack? Because I remember it was based on 2 permissions that silently an application can get.
Yes. So the Cloak and Dagger is more on the one I just described is phishing. So the goal is to steal sensitive information from the user. The Cloak and Dagger is more on clickjacking. In clickjacking, the trick is that you want the user to click somewhere where basically, of course, the action of the user will create a positive impact on the malicious application, so more permissions and so forth. And of course, the user will never do this by itself. I mean, you can do this with social engineering, but the trick of clickjacking is that you need to confuse the user, so the user thinks he's clicking somewhere, but actually the click is all somewhere else. So the Cloak and Dagger paper was so with 2 permissions, but we actually started from 0. So we found out that if you ask there is this permission to draw overlays on top of your UI, and that's the same permission that Facebook uses or Twitter uses for some notifications. I mean, many popular apps are using this, and it's so popular that if you install an application from the Play Store, this permission is automatically granted. Okay, and we try to convince Google that this is a bad idea because of these attacks, and there is no way the usability factor is quite prominent here, and it's going to create too many issues, and so they're not going to do it. So as of now, if you start an app asking for draw on top permission, you're going to get it. What we show is that you can do clickjacking in the sense that the trick is that you create an overlay, and then on the bottom of it, you actually spawn what you want the user to click on. In this case was the accessibility menu. Do you want to enable this permission? So clickjacking on mobile phone is actually quite known trick. I think the first paper or Black Hat talk was 2012. So people have been knowing this for now 5 years. So what we showed in that paper is that there is some kind of defense mechanism for clickjacking. It's called the obscure flag, where basically a button, when it receives a click, can understand, hey, was there something on top of myself when the user clicked? And so, if you have an overlay on top of the OK button that the attacker wants the user to click, the OK button can check, wait a second, I got the click, but on top of myself, there is an overlay. I'm going to refuse this. Okay. So this was already implemented when we did the attacks. What we show is that it's actually quite easy to bypass. So the conceptual idea here is that you have the OK button, but the OK button can understand if something is on top of it, but if there is something like covering all the screen except this OK button, this obscure flag mechanism is not going to kick in. because there is nothing on top of the OK button, so everything is fine. And so what we show is that you can cover everything around the OK button. You can ask, hey, do you want to do this kind of irrelevant stuff? You press OK, right? The problem is that these buttons that usually you want to protect are like permission buttons, like OK, yes, I authorize this. These are extremely generic buttons, right? And so the actual security context becomes from what's written around. But we show we can control what's written around, and so that's why the attack works. And so that was the first part of the paper. The second one was that once you get a CBD service, we show that it's literally game over, because you can mix this permission. So when you have a CBD service, in theory, it's one of these permissions that applications can use to help users with disabilities. So they can actually read from the screen, and they can actually zoom in automatically. So the screen with the visual impaired can actually read this. They are actually apps that connect to external keyboards, and these apps can actually click around automatically on behalf of the user. So it's super useful. Unfortunately, it can be abused. Once a bad app actually gets it, then we found that everything was clickable in terms of like permissions and things like this. We found that this service also works when you lock your screen. Basically, you lock it and then you type your PIN, and then we'll get notification, hey, the user just typed on number 1, number 2, number 3, so we can know the PIN. And we show that we can also inject the PIN automatically. So since accessibility service works like 100%, we can actually inject the PIN once the screen is still off, and then we can do whatever we want, right? So we can click on behalf of the user. We also show that the screen was not turning on while doing this attack. So you literally see your screen on your table, and you don't know if something is going on. And the other thing is that we show, it was quite funny, like we could do these attacks like in front of the user's face. The trick was that basically before doing this automatic clicking around, we will show a video. So the user actually checks the video, and in the meantime, we are actually clicking around, installing another application, enable all permissions, device admin, and things like this. So that was the big part of the paper. And Google somehow fixed many of these attacks, in a sense that now it's much more difficult to get a CBD service, because as I said before, whenever you go on a CBD service menu or permissions, all overlays, no matter what, disappear. Unfortunately, and that's our follow-up paper, we noticed that this is like a system protection. Like Google can do this because it's Google. A CBD service settings is a system app, and so they can say, disable all overlays. Unfortunately, Facebook cannot do this because it's a third-party application, and you cannot provide a permission to disable overlays. And that's where, I feel that this click checking stuff, Google got super stuck in this backward compatibility nightmare, and they need to provide these overlays because millions of apps are using it. And that's what makes solving this problem quite interesting.
Yeah. So, what, as I'm understanding, right? So still there are lots of devices, right, that are vulnerable for even like cloak and dagger.
I'm so sorry, but we have some problems with our network.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
And I try to fix it. I need a few minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
Sure.
It's Google.
Are we recording? Yeah. Or...
I try, but I have a few devices and normal network from my phone and ugly network from my laptop.
Yeah, actually, Yanick, we're in different locations, everybody right now.
So where
times, I guess. So I'm in US, right, in California. Alice now in Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia, not in USA.
Yes, another Georgia. And Taras in Ukraine, yeah.
Ukraine.
Okay, I see. So you said you're in California?
Yeah.
Where are you staying now?
Silicon Valley, so Santa Clara. That's
Santa Clara?
Palo Alto Networks Research. Yeah.
Oh, Palo Alto Networks. I see. Nice. Did you start recently? Or have you been there?
Yeah, so I've graduated right at the end of May, basically.
Oh, this May.
Yeah.
Oh, you really started recently. I see.
Yeah.
So what's the main job about? Is it network security? I mean, I know the company, but I'm not sure I know 100% what they...
Yeah, so it's like basically threat research. So So we investigate in different kinds of detection methods, different kind of malware.
I see. But do you sell some solutions to customers, like some detection?
Yes, at the end, yes. But in general, it's research like department, and we basically investigate all the things we can do. So.
Oh, I see. Very cool.
Yeah, quite nice.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have green light? Or
We don't have, unfortunately. I try to fix it.
So are you trying to record with this the Google thing, or it's something else?
Google, it's Google Live, but as I see, we have live translation. We have live, and that's why I hope it will be recorded on YouTube. But
Yeah, I see a live button.
it's on my laptop. That's why I can.
Yeah, I see a live yellow thing in the corner of the Hangout.
I think it's recording because we see live.
okay,
but
then,
We'll never know. Okay,
it is Google.
more detail on work in progress. Maybe this stuff is not gonna. Yeah, I'm sure there are some Google guys saying, okay, this stuff can go public or not, depending on the content.
It doesn't public yet, but we can
it's private.
show. Only I can see it, and we can send you interview before we will publish it.
Yeah,
For your approval.
Yeah, sure.
No worries.
Yes, that's definitely. Okay, I guess let's try to resume, right? So,
Yep. So
yeah, so
we're talking. That's the current open problem in the sense that these rejecting attacks are fixed on Google own. It's not even true actually. These are fixed on the settings app and things like this, but this is not fixed on the Play Store, for example. And so as of now, you can draw overlays and then you can lure the user to click on install another application and it works. And the problem, so what I mean is that I gave this talk a number of times around and I found some guys from some company that told me, we actually tried to fix this using this obscure flag, which whatever is bypassable, but at least you need to draw around. So it's gonna raise the bar for the attacker. And they couldn't do this because apparently there are some applications whose main functionality is to draw overlays on top. This category is called a screen filters and things like this, where basically, literally the only thing they do is to draw a semi-transparent overlay on top of the screen. Usually it's on the right side. I think that the story for this application is that it seems that if you check your phone before going to bed, then you're gonna have sleep problems. And so these guys basically modify the tonality of the screen so that some components on the blue are removed, and so you can sleep well. Something like this. There are many of these apps. One of the most popular is called Twilight or something, and millions of users are using this. And so apparently these guys from this company actually tried to deploy this. They did it. They got crazy amount of complaints because basically, I cannot click this button anymore with this Twilight application. And so people are not using this for this reason and this practicality aspect. And so, we have this work got recently accepted. And what we try to show there is that, it's still an open problem. Google fixed their own application, the settings app, but for backward compatibility reasons, then there are issues in fixing other application, even Google own like the Play Store and things like this.
Это капец.
Ага.
Почему, когда у нас гости, у нас должны быть какие-то проблемы?
Бедный Яник. Это же второй раз я тогда у него интервью брал.
Я тебе хочу сказать, что у нас оно даже не сначала записалось. Но это мы с тобой потом поправим. Yanick, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
2 years ago, we have interview with founder of Ukrainian Information Security Group, Konstantin Korsun, and it was 3 interview with troubles.
I see.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. Yeah, it's Google people. They don't want me to go.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's gonna happen. It's
we
gonna go
suspect
public.
that.
Whether what they can do. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, cool.
Okay, we are live, and I guess let's take maybe another breeze. So, like, just like general simple question, right? What is better, like to have Android or iPhone or maybe some other platform, right? In the sense, is are those attacks?
I think the better is don't have a smartphone.
Oh yeah, that's
the extreme.
yeah. I mean, like in the sense, like all these attacks, even like UI attacks, like we know that they're like very hard to solve in general.
Yep.
All these permissions, systems, and so on. But like, is it like specific to Android, do you think, or like iOS also vulnerable to the?
So okay, I'm not an expert in iOS, but my understanding is yes, these guys are specific to Android. My understanding is that you cannot get a CBD service or you cannot get permission to draw overlays on top in iOS if you're not a system application. So that's iOS approach is much more closed than Android, and so you just cannot do this, and apparently it's fine. So nobody's complaining and nobody's saying hey, iOS is less usable than Android. The big problem is that Android was very open and they let these people do all this crazy stuff. Maybe they did not realize how problematic was this security-wise, and now there are apps used by millions of people that rely on these features. And actually, for a CBD service, I think 2-3 months ago, there was an announcement from Google saying, we're going to close a CBD service down only to apps that actually use this service to help people with disabilities. And actually, we did some kind of short study understanding which apps of the top ones are using a CBD service to help user. 0. So all these guys were using this service to do crazy other stuff, like locking of things. Because, with this service, which app is on top. You can click on it. You can draw something on top. You can prevent the user clicking. It's very, very powerful. And so basically, people start complaining. And then Google need to retract this, and they need to say, okay, we're going to reconsider this. And eventually, they never did it. So I think they ended up saying, oh, if you're a popular app, tell us why you're doing this. And then we're going to get inspiration. They're going to provide new APIs. But, they try to remove it. But, yeah, they cannot do this. They cannot do this. Personal preference, I'm still Android user because research-wise, I really like these attacks. But as a normal user, it's fine. Also, the bar for the attacker is not super low in the sense that you need to have, at least for these public ones, you need to have an application installed, malicious application installed on your phone, which, I'm not installing any crazy, so I'm quite sure everything is fine. iOS is also awesome, but phones are much more expensive. And for me, I like to play with this stuff and, install custom apps and so forth. iOS is much more like closed up, as you know. So I guess it depends on the use case, but security-wise, the big problem of Android is not, oh, I found a new attack that works on the latest version. It's more on the, if you don't have a phone that is very recent, all the bugs that are currently disclosed are public and you are vulnerable to them because the security update system is a mess. And so as of now, I think my phone is a Nexus 5X, is actually quite recent, but I think at October 2018, so in 4 months, actually a couple months, is going to be out of support security-wise. So I'm not going to receive any security thing. My friend has a Nexus 5 and he thinks everything is fine, and it's not. From, I think, September last year, everything is dead security-wise. They're not receiving any updates. These are phones supported by Google. These are like flagship devices from Google. Now Samsung, I think they're doing a better job. Like now they get the patches from Google, and then I think they push something at least once every 3 months or something. And I don't know how long is the support period. But if the flagship device from Google have these issues, and if you buy the new ones, I think the new one is a Pixel 2, whatever. I think it's gonna last a couple of years. So to 2020, and that's like 600 euros phone. It's upsetting. I'm not gonna buy it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and these bugs are bad. Many of these bugs are actually critical, where basically they are remotely exploitable and so forth. Google is actually very transparent. If you go on the security bulletin, you're gonna see sometimes the CV and all the Android bug reference numbers. Sometimes you also see a Git commit link, so you can click on it and you can see actually the difference and where the bug is. I remember in December there was a bug in the base64 decoder, which is used whenever you receive anything, and you click on the link and there was a mischeck or you can do off by one. But I don't remember the bug, but I remember literally there was an if more in the patch, so they actually provide a lot of information. And if you don't have the security updates, then you're in the water. And and you can also check if you Google for Android dashboard or Android version dashboard, you can see the the different versions of Android, how much they are widespread around. And actually, let's do it live. Android version dashboard. I didn't check it for a while. I think the latest version was some 5%. Let's see.
Yeah, I guess on
version 8. Okay, now is at 12%, and everything else is version 7, 6. So the 6 is still 23%. Version 5 is 20%. I mean, Android 5 is quite old. And my understanding is that these guys don't receive any update. Yeah. So I think security-wise, sure, UI attacks are cool, and I really like them. But this is not the big issue in terms of security.
And from the end user perspective, is there something like accept security updates that you can do? Because on web, right, we have this lots of guidelines how to check whether it's HTTPS, whether it's proper domain and so on. But basically with clickjacking, with UI attacks, right, on Android, there is no option to do anything.
Yeah, for the UI attacks, yeah. I mean, for the clickjacking part, all the attacks I know, they require an app installed on the phone. So the advice there is don't install random stuff from the internet. This is always reasonable to do. For the phishing side, we have something more. We're still in responsible disclosure, but there are some tricks abusing some modern features that may not require an application installed. It's not super transparent in a sense there is some kind of click involved, but we think it's quite powerful. And I think the phishing is the more problematic part, because the clickjacking, okay, it's like the user is confused, there is something on top, but the phishing part is more an application pretending to be something else, and there is no control on package name, or there is not a control. I think now they grab for, I don't know, if you submit an app called blah blah Facebook, then they ban you. But I think that's about it. They cannot check all the images. I mean, it's a difficult problem. Also because you can load images, at runtime. There is nothing preventing you to do this. So you don't need to embed the fake Facebook login thing you can build it at runtime. It's very, very difficult problem.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, that's a good point you mentioned, right, that you have this responsible disclosure. And actually, personally, I think that this is the best papers when you actually found a real vulnerability, real bug that you submitted. One interesting question, whether such research actually ends up in bug bounties, or you just disclose it voluntarily?
Yeah. So that was interesting for me because I found actual bugs, I can do this and that, and then you check on the the actual guidelines, and it seems that clickjacking, tabjacking, they are not part of this bounty stuff. But what the hell? I mean, there are many bugs that you need to have an application installed on your phone, and if you can do privilege escalation and you get root, then you get money. But for this kind of stuff where we show you can get all permissions and then device admin and things like this, no, because by category they're out. And that was quite interesting. But we got some money for one of the bugs. So in Cloak and Dagger we show how to abuse the obscure flag as a side channel. So we managed to basically create a number of overlays on top of the keyboard, one for each of these, and we managed to create them not flat, but basically kind of pyramid scheme. This actually we got luck because there is no way to do this, but if you just create overlays, they are actually set up in a pyramid scheme. And so depending where we're set up in a way that are invisible so the user doesn't see them, the click will actually reach the bottom. And the other trick is that you can tell overlays to be notified when the user clicks somewhere, also not on the specific overlay, but somewhere else. For security reason, you don't get the coordinates. Otherwise, you would see, hey, the user clicked here or clicked here, where the user clicked. So you don't get the coordinates. But it turns out that depending on where you click, some of these overlays would have the obscure flag set because there would be some overlays on top and some of them would not. And depending on this pattern, we know, the user clicked in this one because, for example, if you click here, there is no obscure flag set. If you click here, all the obscure flags are set. If you click here, only this one and this one. So depending on this, we knew exactly on which overlay the user clicked, which means we know everything the user is typing. So for this, we got a bug bounty. So clickjacking, nothing. There was another one that was awesome. So if you checked in the past the documentation for a CBD service, you will see that there was written, a CBD service, if you do get text method on a password field, you will not get the password for security reason. Okay? So it's literally written, security note, you do not get content of passwords for security reason. Fine. Then we found out that the keyboard itself, whenever you click on key P, is actually broadcasting in a CBD service event, say, hey, the key P actually got pressed. So with this CBD service, we could track just the keyboard application. And so we know exactly what the user is typing. And so we actually defeat this. So we told them, guys, this is a bug. We can get the password. No, it's not a bug. So guys, come on, check your own documentation. There is written, I cannot do this and I can do this. So it's a bug. And this guys actually updated the documentation instead of giving me, the money. So, and I have like a snapshot on the web archive where you can see the security warning and then it suddenly disappeared a month after. And that's a fantastic instance of, patching the documentation and not the actual bug. Again, this is more a backward compatibility issue. It's super difficult to fix it because that's maybe is not a CBD service per se, is the keyboard application leaking material, and that's tricky. Same stuff, for me was crazy that I could sniff the pin and inject the pin automatically. But apparently it's very difficult to fix it because there are some devices I mentioned before that are attached to the phone, and then there is an application that acts as a server. This device actually, it's a kind of keyboard for people with disabilities. You press a button, the button is, propagated to this application. The application pressed on a button on the screen, and this needs to work for everything, also for the lock pad, right? And I understand why they don't want to fix it, because if they fix it, all these gadgets are gonna die. And so now the current status is that it's known if you get a CBD service, it's game over. So they're trying to avoid that people can get it quite easily. And as of now, the trick is social engineering. So there are people that still fall for this, like please. To unlock this Pokemon, you need to click OK. Absolutely, I want this Pokemon, and people do it. So, but
True.
Something vulnerable only to social engineering, it means the bar is already raised. At least a security guy probably would not be fooled by this. But with all the previous attacks, we did this actually user study with PhD students in computer security, and nobody understood what was going on. So, quite tricky.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, cool research. And did you get something actually, I'm curious, like for fingerprint API vulnerabilities? Fingerprint API in Android? Like, did you get some kind of bug bounty?
Absolutely no, because it's here is more the API, and we didn't find bugs in Google API per se, because it's actually pretty cool. Like there is this crypto key, it never leaves the Trustzone. It's only like within the Trustzone part, and when it's unlocked with the fingerprint, it's not that this key actually goes out. No, you just get an object, and on this object you can call decrypt or encrypt, and this crypto mystery key in Trustzone is going to be. Right. What we found is that people are actually misusing this, and then instead of relying on this crypto key secret in Trustzone, they were having their own, Square, we found out they were having this token used for authentication on the backend, and instead of using this, trusted crypto key to sign something, so that this token is just signed, so the user actually put the finger there, I can trust this. They basically were using this fingerprinting to unlock, to decrypt this token in the untrusted world. So once the user click once, this secret is actually locked in trusted world, and the attacker can see it. We notify them, and then there was actually a back and forth saying, no, it's not a bug. So, dude, this stuff is in Trustzone for a reason, because exactly to prevent, even if you get root, you cannot compromise this. And then 3-4 emails, and then we had the dude, we think we're wrong, and the guy disappeared. So I don't have, we didn't. Stuff on the Play Store. I don't know why they don't. I mean, Square, I think they could fix it, because it's there are some case scenarios where it's tricky. Like if you only rely on storing, encrypting some secret that the user needs to see it, this secret needs to be shown to the user, so somehow it needs to be public on the phone, and even the fingerprint API cannot solve this. But in case of like transactions, like Square would need, then you can actually have some kind of signing a nonce or signing a challenge response mechanism maybe it's too complicated. I think it's I mean, fine. It is their call, of course, and the world is not gonna fall for this.
Yeah.
I think that Yep.
Yeah. Cool. What do you think? Like, am I right to say that like many of those attacks, they actually rely on some kind of side channel? I would say that basically like developers of the system, they just didn't think about, right? So okay, there can be some other source of information or some other source of interaction that will actually get the system vulnerable. So like I see, we see it in many attacks recently that side channels actually dominate in research, in everything, right? And what do you think? Like, is it true to say in general, or is the reason is that actually systems got very complicated? For example, Android, and what can we do with that?
Yeah, no, what's the question? If side channels are always going to be there, and if people don't...
Yeah, I mean, like all these attacks, right?
Yeah.
It's side channels.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, the recent news are pretty bad in terms of side channel. And the worst part is that they are not software part, because as long as it's software, then it's easier to patch. This is more like, conceptual thing at the hardware level. So even if you know how to fix them, then it's super difficult to actually deploy them. And some of the recent works, I think there is no solution. Like they basically show that, for example, one paper from the guys in Amsterdam show that either you have caches or you have ASLR. Like if you have one mechanism, you cannot have the other one because this is going to leak some information. So, and these are the kind of paper I like. It's not just a bug. I mean, some bugs are super interesting, of course. But when there is a new trade-off that people didn't realize there was a trade-off, that's something that becomes super interesting. And yeah, I'm not an expert in these micro architectural attacks, and they're super fascinating from an outsider. I think there is still stuff to fix in the user space and software level. And every once in a while a new side channel pops up. Oh, now I know which app is going to be on top on Android. This phishing stuff is one of the least dangerous things you can do, in the sense that you just know something is on top, then I'm going to jump on it and I do phishing. But I think some papers in the past show that through some side channels on the cache, they could understand what kind of key you're pressing on your keyboard, and that's a different level.
You actually is it like I believe it's the same lab, right, that you published, and CCS actually overall 4 papers, I believe, right? Eurocom.
This is yes.
That's congrats, actually. That's cool.
We're super happy, and we're gonna brag about it. We're trying to find, there are these websites that track performance of different groups. I think it's called rankings, and so you can see like from year to year for which conference. So we are just waiting to select from year 2018 to year 2018 only CCS, and
the best.
We're gonna be number one. I don't know. We know the top groups. I don't think they have like UCSB and so forth. I don't think they have 4 papers. But yeah, it's a lucky coincidence. But yeah, we have a couple of them on Android security. Some kind of one on clickjacking, more attack and defense. One on phishing, like more abusing modern features of Android or modern application Android to do phishing. And again, this is still responsible disclosure. And then I think Davide Balzarotti, the other prof, is some web security stuff. And then Aurélien Francillon is more hardware guy. It's a super cool paper it's called Screaming Channel. It was actually covered by the news very recently, where he found out that this chip are actually doing computation, and the Wi-Fi chip is actually broadcasting this computation to the world. And this stuff is insane. I've seen the students going around with crazy antennas.
Cool.
It is like black magic. I told them, if this paper gets rejected from CCS, I'm out of academia. Fuck these guys. So super cool stuff. Yep. And now we are gonna have DEF CON. We're gonna fail miserably and see people are gonna laugh at us, and all these good achievements are gonna be forgotten. It's gonna be interesting. 1 week.
Like you are flying to DEF CON, right? Or
we are flying, so we can get the eggs thrown by people. It's gonna being on the other side.
Just a side question, like at the DEF CON, right? If can we stop, say hi, or like it's better not to disturb you? In terms of...
The ideal scenario is that we go there, we press the button, start the game, and then we wait 3 days. but I hope we're gonna have at least
Too
5 minutes.
ideal, I guess.
The other one is the other extreme is that we press the button, everything explodes and nothing works. Fine. Our inside joke is that we're gonna have cancel the DEFCON CDF and gonna host some kind of tea competition or some kind of offer tea to the participants. Yeah, I'm sure it's a good alternative.
It was awesome. The qualification rounds were cool, right? So like nice tasks.
Qualification, we think they went well. We did screwed something up, but to be the first time and to be, when we were the organizers in January, February, so we didn't have much time. So overall, we're quite happy with it. Tons of things we can improve, of course. But at least we had a website. The website did not crash. A number of challenges, people solved them. So we are quite okay. So if they go like the finals go like the quals, we are quite happy. But yeah, there is a lot of infrastructure to write and a lot of good people that try to destroy us. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, in a week, you're gonna see it. Yeah.
Okay. I have another couple of general question. So one question is about security research in academia. So I guess you did academia in US and now you came to France, right? Back to Europe. Are there some differences in terms of research and so on?
Yeah, in terms of research, no, in the sense that once you're an academic, you're quite free. In terms of career stuff, I mean, if you go to a good school, I think is seen good. It's not like any step down. The big problem in Europe, there are many advantages. The big problem is funding. Funding is tricky, and there are European calls, but there is a lot of stuff to do in terms of you need to have industry partners and academic partners. Industry partners usually they are on the project to give you as a favor, and so they don't do anything. Or they don't do it. It's not true, but they don't do much. So it's more on the academic pushing this, but of course this requires tons of coordination and bureaucracy and so forth. And these industry guys are usually our friends, so we really appreciate they are on board. But of course they have all the bureaucracy steps on their sides. For example, we need support letter. The letter needs to be signed by some higher up. It cannot be signed by my friend that just security there. And this of course requires time. While I've seen in the US how it works, and you can write the proposal and submit the day before, writing like crazy until the very, very end. And many proposals I've seen accepted by my ex-colleagues and my colleagues. They're 1-2 institutions, usually only academics, and that's it. There's also the NSF in the US where many proposals are open, you choose a topic and then you just push for it. And then it's super competitive, but it's difficult to find something equivalent here in Europe. Many of these European calls are very targeted to specific teams, and it's quite challenging. There is not call mobile security on Android and so forth. There is absolutely nothing like this. And one in NSF, if you have an idea, you can pitch it to it. And again, it's super competitive. It's not like free money, but not even the possibility of doing something like this is quite challenging. There is something similar in France. Like the NSF, it's called ANR. I think I don't know French, but it's National Research and something agency. I don't know, and it's similar, but you need to have a French partner, and I know zero French. I don't know many French partners, so it's quite challenging. But on the other side, French has some specific rules where basically if they hire you for more than 1 year and a half, the contract needs to be indeterminate time contract, and so basically the job comes with tenure in a sense that they cannot fire me, and that's a big deal because in the US you have these tenure track positions where for 6 years of your life, 6 years, you are are you publishing enough? Are you getting enough money? So here, if I fail miserably in all possible aspects, I'm going to be assistant professor and very poor forever, which is okay. But, as a plan B, I find myself working a lot, but mindset is quite relaxed. And for now, very familiar environment and so forth. I'm also originally from Italy, so it's very good to be back. Sure. I love being in Santa Barbara, so California was awesome. But to see my parents, I need to travel 10,000 kilometers. It's tough. Now it's 4 hours driving, so yeah. That's it's in terms of money that I can raise, it's much more complicated. But quality of life is much better. So yeah. But no, in terms of topics, yeah, it's pretty much the same freedom. And there are groups that are super successful, you know, the Amsterdam guys, or there are groups in Germany or Switzerland. You know, I think we are very competitive. Yep. But yeah, I'm just waiting that they're gonna have some scoreboard with number of papers. Yes, we're gonna dominate and destroy everybody in the world.
Nice.
So especially focus on TCS 2018. I'm just waiting for that. So I've seen my friends with millions of dollars and I get upset. So at least I need to troll them a little bit.
Yeah, like such question. Are you looking for more PhD students in your lab? Or
Yes. Maybe we have some money that's gonna appear in a month or so, but it's still not super sure, but looks positive. And if yes, yeah, we're gonna look for PhD students, postdocs, and I think some engineers. One other thing that I'm exploring is in France there is this thing called CIFRE PhD, where basically a student is an employee of a company, and then you can do a PhD with us. It depends. Sometimes it's a scam, where basically sure is a PhD, but the guy needs to be a software engineer for his normal job, and then needs to do a PhD during the weekend, which is an absolute scam. We have one now with the company here. Is going super well. Like, he's actually free to do research, and he can spend time with us at Eurocom. It's like 10 minutes from our office. So, but again, it's, you know, you just get an email from some guy, oh, do you want to do CIFRE? And then you need to explore, okay, does it make sense? Are these guys reasonable? In this case, we're being super lucky. But that's something, it's not like a steady, you know, resource of funding where you can apply around. You just need to hope that somebody's going to notice your CV somewhere and send you an email. And well, we do what we can. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it does, like, I guess, like, we have some audience, like students, and they might be interested. We have like the talented cybersecurity guys and so on.
And I am recently new, but you know, there are also Davide is doing a lot of like web security, malware, reversing, forensic, and Aurelian is more on the hardware side or firmware, and this. So I think, or telephony fraud, more on the side of phones, not on the system part. So I think we cover a lot of topics, and you know, they've been there for a while. So you know, funding, I always complain, but we are not that desperate. So if there are like a small amount of money with tons of work, we don't even apply, screw them, it's fine. We are optimizing for quality of life. So, you know, if you're interested in some cybersecurity stuff, ping me and I may be able to find something. Yeah.
Speaking about other research, right, I saw your paper, right, about Linux malware. You're one of co-authors at S&P, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually, right, that's cool, right? Because usually, like, yeah, we don't speak about different classes of Linux malware and so on. Are there like some interesting findings you want to share, like some super cool?
Yeah. So basically, I joined this project when I joined Eurocom, so in September. But it was Davide and his student Emanuele and Mariano from Cisco. They were working on this for, I think, a year or something. And you know, some of the challenges that they told me about when we were writing the papers, when we were telling me the current status, were actually quite surprising. Like, I don't know, for the data set, for example, we had somebody with you know, access to VirusTotal thing, so we could load a bunch of samples and so forth. But it was quite difficult to find if a sample was actually potentially a Linux executable. Because, you know, what you get is ELF, and then, you know, we found some samples that basically they were not for Linux, they were for FreeBSD. And the interface is more or less the same. And so, or they found many samples for Android. And so, what is an ELF for Android? I don't know what's happening, but it could be that when you submit something to VirusTotal, they unpack the APK and then they find like native libraries, like these shared objects, and then they treat them as ELF. And so many of these samples were actually for Android. And so you try to analyze them, and then there is nothing happening. And so this risk that, you know, your data set is not, because, you know, we have limited number of queries per day. And so we risk that, the data set was not very comprehensive, or, you know, on the other side, once you have a heuristic to find, okay, this is for Android, let's throw it away, or this is for FreeBSD, let's throw it away. We actually did find samples that basically try to launch a Cisco, and then they understand that the Cisco was not working, and they understand, okay, this is not Linux, this is FreeBSD, or I think it was this way or the other one. So there was this sample that somehow was kind of fingerprinting the environment, understanding, not by checking, you know, uname or something like this, but by running a syscall, and, you know, the syscall number should be associated with this action doesn't happen. So this must be another system. The other interesting thing was that, while checking the results, there were some very interesting, like old school techniques. And it seems that that's what people use for real. Like, I don't know, putting something in cron tab and, trying to, write all the scripts in etc init and so forth. These are like the pranks I was doing to my friends, like Santa Barbara. And it seems that people still do this, like modifying Basher-C and things like this. We're trying to find something more advanced, like the analogous for Windows malware. Basically, process injection is something they do very, very commonly. They hijack Internet Explorer and then they just put some piece of allocate a piece of memory, write code, and execute it. And it seems that in Linux you cannot do this, and people actually do not do this. So this, now also there is this ptrace security mechanism where unless you have a direct relationship with a process, you cannot do ptrace on top of it. So there are these new syscall, I think it's called write VM. I think it's write virtual memory, some unknown syscall I didn't know before this project, that allow you to actually write in the virtual memory of another process. And we thought it was security nightmare. No, they still follow the same ptrace rules. And so I think they're used mostly for performance reasons. I think they don't copy stuff around. Everything goes through the kernel directly. And these are simple, not simple, but it's a big difference that for me is not very noticeable, like, in terms of like when you try to understand what possibly can go wrong. And then there are many challenges because you run these binaries and then they try to ping some CNC and the CNC is down. And other times they understand their under analysis. And so they write you very funny and interesting messages to the developer, to the analyzer. I'm going to screw you, or let me Google this for you, how to suck whatever, your own thing. That was quite funny. And then they do, of course, remove everything. And then you say, hey, something went wrong with this sample. Why my VM is now not functional anymore? And then they just removed everything with this funny message. So, and there is the student put a lot of work. And again, I joined when it was quite advanced process. But, there are these. So, for example, one of the things we are trying to extract is syscalls, right? And you can do this with a trace. And you can do this with the system tab. It's a new system where basically you put probes in kernel land, so the user space you don't see them. Now, if you check documentation of system tab, I supported for this, and it's not true. In a sense that you try to run it for another platform, and it's a super nightmare. And so the student again try to need to patch this and debug this and so forth. Takes a lot of time. Now we have this. We made this platform available, so it's called Padawan S3 Eurocom.fr, I think, and you can submit samples. We return the report. We shared all the reports we had. We cannot share the samples due to VirusTotal policy. We did share the hashes, and you can check the report for each hash and so forth. But that was quite interesting.
That's awesome. Thanks. So much different research directions. Like, do you think like this is actually your strategy, right, to target different directions? Because I see like Android attacks, right? General Linux malware, like low-level stuff, ultrasound, right? Tracking, I guess you also.
It's interesting. So it depends. Like, I try to focus on. My main thing is mobile thing, and now I joined Eurocom, so I'm super interested in this, malware stuff, not only for Android. And so Davide and Emanuele, they were working on this, so super cool. And so I started to have them a little bit. And of course, you always have, maybe this mobile stuff, it's over. Maybe I should find a new topic. And I remember when I started the PhD, it was 2011. There were people publishing in Android for about 3 years at that point. And it seemed like all the low-hanging fruits were gone and all the research was done. All right. And I have this guy, it was the beginning of my PhD. I was completely clueless. This guy told me, "Oh, you're working on Android? You are an absolute idiot." This guy, Berkeley dude, and I was like, "Oh, little dude from Santa Barbara." So I'm not gonna be vulgar and something recorded on YouTube, but it was very good to see that in the years I was fine and I was able to find stuff to write about and so forth. But it could be that it's gonna change. Like I have stuff in the pipeline for a while more, But I've noticed, for example, there are some workshops that were focused on mobile, and these guys disappeared. There was a workshop on security and privacy. It's not there anymore. Workshop at CCS. It's called SPSM. Now, 2 years ago, apparently there is an announcement. We met with another conference. And I think there was a workshop at IEEE Euro SMP, and it's there anymore. So, for now, I'm still pushing on this, but I think it's good to always be on the look. Like, hey, maybe it's time to change. For now, I still like it. So, and also, I'm trying to collaborate more with Google. So with time, I built some connections, and there are these, chances of working with them, and they are very open to receive academics and talk to them. The new lead of Android security is actually an ex-academic. He was a professor in Linz. So he's very, very open to and communication. Yeah. So we'll see if some collaborations pop out. We'll see. But yeah.
Alisa, Taras, any questions? I guess we already taken more than 1 hour, right?
I have a general question, what one book can you recommend for our listeners?
What?
It can be what one book can you recommend for our listeners? It can be science fiction or professional or infosec or physics books.
Oh, I see. That's a tough question.
I asked all our guests.
Yeah, I really, really liked Asimov. A while ago, I
like it.
Nice.
I really like them. Yeah. So that would be my pick. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about AI security then?
Well, AI security, that's
danger of race of machines and so on.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. Huh? I don't know. As of now, I'm not very concerned, but I'm more on the. I don't know. I think I don't know enough all this stuff. I find some specific things extremely creepy, like the recent Google thing showing that they could call a restaurant and ordering and reserving a table.
Exactly.
Then this fake stuff and stuff like this. So what the hell is going on? This is weird. So there are a number of things that creep me out, but going on Google Photo and saying I want a picture of dogs and then dogs pop out is pretty cool. So in terms of technology, I'm sure there are bad ways to use it. I hope that the public outcry against companies when they try to go dark is gonna win against these companies trying to go dark. The example is from Google trying to engage with the military to try to use their AI power to do some military stuff. I think they were recognizing things in satellite images, and people got super upset, and they stopped doing this. So I think this works with very, very big companies, but it could be that smaller companies, they can use this power and stay under the radar. So there are for sure bad ways of using this technology, but I think regulations are going to be more and more important. So I'm strongly in favor of this. But honestly, I don't know enough.
We'll see soon, I guess.
But I know. Also, people ask me usually, but privacy, Google knows everything. I don't know. I guess I'm not a privacy guy, and so fine. I use Gmail. I don't have my own private, mail server. There are these things. I have friends that they use Gmail, but they use fake name. And I think it's completely clueless because you use the fake name, and then I reply, "Hey, dude, with your real name and last name, I'm gonna save my with your fake name. I'm not gonna remember anything. I'm gonna put the real name and last name." So Google knows everything and knows exactly that you are trying to avoid them, and they're gonna laugh at you. So I respect this. I think there are some efforts that are not justified in terms of threat modeling. Like, you shouldn't talk to people if you don't want Google to see your emails, because if you write to people, many people my Eurocom, or not my Eurocom, but other email addresses I have, they redirect to Gmail. So even if you have a domain name that is not mapped to Gmail, it might end up there. So I don't know, but but this time there are Signal or WhatsApp being end-to-end encrypted. I think it's getting easier and easier for users to be protected. So in terms of this, if they're practical, absolutely. If they're not practical, I'm not at that level where I say yeah. I think one friend told me they tried to use ProtonMail. Apparently, the mobile app is some nightmare, crazy thing. Yeah, I'm not at that point. And yeah. But yeah, now for example, people like go crazy when I say I have a Google Home thing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's listening to everything I say. Okay, fine. I mean, the only moment it freaked me out is when I actually was asking, put the timer or something, and this stuff replied in French. I thought, no, I have no idea how to change back because I have no zero French. That's the only thing that pissed me off. That terrified me. Like I lost control of this item. I need to throw it away. But for the rest, yeah.
Right.
Okay. May I ask also some general question?
Of course.
Returning to Android and in context of Google, what is your opinion? How do you think? Will we ever have generalized channel for Google updates for Android? Because when Google announced Oreo Android 8, they promised us that in Android 8, vendor part and system part of software will be strongly separated, so Google could update their part of code, not depending on patches from vendors. But as I see, we still have obtained patches only from vendors.
Yeah.
How do you think? Will be?
If it's gonna get
sometime we have some kind of Android update from Google, which will update Android separately.
Yeah, I think the perfect scenario is not going to happen anytime soon, but I think it's getting better. And I think they're pushing a lot they understand it's a big problem and they're pushing a lot. There is this project called Project Treble or something, where basically they try to create a new interface or a new API through some driver and some other interfaces or Android components, where basically these third-party manufacturers, they need to respect this API, but whatever is above or below this API, it's up to Google, and these are becoming independent modules, and they can be updated, through normal update mechanism. Another thing that this already deployed, I think in the past there was this WebView component that was some kind of hard-coded stuff inside the framework, and now I think it's deployed as a normal application. So whenever there's an update, they press a button and they update it worldwide. And this by bypassing all the different OEM updating mechanism. So they're going towards this modularization of all the components, and they're getting to modularize like lower level components. So there is a significant trend towards the better end of the thing. But some other parts, the kernel and things like this, they're going to have patches, and then it's a difficult problem, right? They need to, even if whenever you have a customization, then it's very difficult to understand, can I apply this other patch safely or not? Even if you apply it cleanly, you don't know for sure that everything is fine. And then if you don't know for sure everything is fine at the kernel level, when stuff might just crash for users with millions of users, it's tough. So I think Google is doing a good job in pushing in the right direction. And but there is going to be, I think, some layer that is going to be affected by these issues for a long time.
And maybe some words about ultrasound.
Oh yeah. There was I was still fitting the mobile aspect, and I popped out because it was some library that added some SDK for Android application. That's how I got interested in this. And it was one of these cases where I understand advertisement, understand the track you. I'm not usually like freaking out, but this ultrasound stuff was like, what the hell is going on? I want to see how this stuff works. And the technology is extremely powerful in the sense that they would somehow get us to your microphone, asking to the user, but basically once they get this, there is a microphone listening always on your phone, and then they were waiting for some tokens encoded through ultrasound that were push from television, from JavaScript on your browser. You go around, and then there are these speakers that basically display the environment with these beacons. On the microphone side, they understand this ultrasound stuff, they decode this, and then understand, beacon XYZ was received on this phone. They basically connect this, they send this to the backend, and they know the user was in this position, and things like this. And they were actually, this was an emerging technology. I think it is an emerging technology. There was this very shady company in India called Serial Push. I think they're out of business. I haven't heard about them for a while. But yeah, these are the guys deploying this this kind of SDK, this kind of framework in mobile applications. There were a number of mobile applications embedding this, and we showed that JavaScript from the browser could actually emit ultrasound or sound in ultrasound frequency, and so you can basically de-anonymize the user, for example. And the threat model is quite aggressive in the sense that you would need to have the user is already running an application with this framework, and then the same user would actually go on a malicious website, and then the malicious website would communicate with the with the phone and so forth. But for some cases, we thought it was quite interesting in the sense that we found out that on Tor you can actually do this as well. So they basically your anonymized version could actually spray ultrasound in your environment. If your phone is actually having one of these frameworks on, it will pick up, hey, this guy actually went on page XYZ on some .onion stuff, and usually in your device it's actually it's much easier to de-anonymize you. They can get your Google account, for example, and so in this case they could breach the anonymized version of you with the de-anonymized version of you, and that was quite interesting. But there were, I don't know what's said now, but there were cases where people would go to the stadium, and then the stadium guys would spray through the speakers of the stadium, through all the people at the stadium, some stuff through ultrasound, so that they could have custom advertisement and so forth. Honestly, don't know why they would do this, because it's much easier to get the GPS, the location permission, than the microphone permission. So if you get from GPS, the guy is at the stadium. So I don't know, but yeah, it was quite interesting. But I don't know. I don't feel it's getting a lot of traction. So there were 3-4 startups we were monitoring in terms of, they were trying to push a lot. They were coming out with ridiculous names like, yeah, we have the Internet of Things, we're going to have the Internet of Sound. So sure. Maybe they're right, they're going to make fun of me and these guys are going to be billionaires. Fine. But, they made me laugh at that point. I'm sure they're going to see this video stuff. And it's like, okay, now we need to become billionaires against this idiot. Yeah. But yeah. Oh yeah, there was, yeah, and the code was actually pretty easy in the sense that we reversed the application and there was listening for audio, and then there was some kind of decoder copied from Wikipedia to decode the different letters, and then they were getting the letters and they were sending these letters to the backend. We also tried to modify the framework to have a new permission, like you would get Microsoft permission and then Microsoft ultrasound permission. Basically, if you get only the Microsoft permission without ultrasound, we modify the Android framework so that we take the actual stream that is picked up by the microphone, and then we do some kind of low-pass filter and we remove the ultrasound frequencies. Again, there was interesting experiment, but again, it requires Android modification and blah, 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 blah. We had also another approach through browser extension, which we had, I think it's a Firefox extension. I don't know if you also had the Chrome one. But there are limitations. Like I think if you have something in Flash, then it will bypass this API that gets the audio stream. So it's not like bulletproof. It's research prototype. But yeah, there was another direction. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
I try to finish our conversation, unfortunately, but I have a few questions. Yanick, describe yourself with 3 words.
Come on. Can we please stop asking questions?
What?
These are tough questions. I mean, these require. These are recorded for the humanity. Okay. I would say positive and determined, and as my girlfriend would say, overexcited sometimes in terms of like, oh, this stuff is awesome, but for some technical thing.
Thank you. Can we?
No, basta. No, top questions for you. That's it. I'm gonna pick like technical issues. If you see the video disappearing, yeah, too bad.
Can we leave some contacts for our listeners, like your email or maybe some your
Best way to contact you, I guess, what we can put.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Google for my name and last name, and then Eurocom. I should pop out, or I'm Rayammer on Twitter. Yeah, I think I have open DMs. I don't know. Not that important to check this stuff, but yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be a way. Yeah, if you're a student or something and you're interested, maybe I like research, maybe not, ping me. We also have a CTF team local. It's called NOPS. It's quite small, but there are 4, 5, 6 guys that are super good. So we are trying to scale this up. It's an ongoing effort. So we're now playing the local competitions or the smallest side. But we did play Google CTF. It was not trivial, but we didn't arrive. Like our position was at 2 digits and not 3. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Nice.
So especially if you're in the area and if you're interested in this, even if you work for a company, ping me. Happy to talk to you.
Okay, thank you. And last question from me: if you can have dinner with one famous person, who it will be and why?
Can this person is still alive?
It can be different kind of famous people, or it can be live or died.
Oh my god. One famous people. All right, I'm gonna just get out of my comfort zone, but it's not gonna be security. Basically, when I was a kid, I was playing soccer, and I think I sucked a lot and played soccer, so I eventually became a goalkeeper. And my idol was Van der Sar. I think he was playing at Juventus at a certain point. That would be my guy.
Nice.
Van der Sar.
Oh, it is nice. Thank you.
Bring it on.
I
With these questions. Come on.
I don't have question anymore. Alexei, Taras.
The final boss of the podcast. All right.
Yeah.
I guess, awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, do we have main part recorded, hopefully?
Worst case, there are not these ridiculous questions and answers.
I believe this part was actually the best recorded.
Yeah.
Exactly. This part is for sure a classic. Classic. Oh, wow, it's 8:30. Wow, now we do not have time to organize DEFCON, so we may need to cancel it, and you guys are gonna be blamed, of course.
Yeah, if anything, just full blame on us.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna be. Actually, if you guys have some content information for me, so you can put it on the big monitor. If we have a big monitor working, with the big monitor, addresses. Yeah. So, are you all gonna be around, or some of you, or none of you?
Me and Andrei, who couldn't join today.
Okay.
But, we'll be at DEFCON. So.
Very cool. So you're attending the conference?
Yeah, just conference. I've registered a couple of workshops, which should be interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't qualify to DEFCON CTF, unfortunately.
Which team?
we didn't.
Which team were you playing?
No, this year we just tried to play Praxac Lab, like with Nick, just like with students a little bit.
No. Which is the name of the team?
We don't have name of team yet.
Oh, you try to play it, but anonymously, all right?
Yeah.
Not the privacy guy, but you are like, the other.
No, this year we tried to set up actually CTF team in Praxac Lab with Nick students, but yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Way to go.
Especially for the big one, it's very easy to get demoralized, and so it's tricky. Yep. And some people they really like this stuff, but they are not okay in investing a lot of time, which is of course totally understandable. So yeah, you need to have the right people and show them greatness. Oh yeah, it's open problem as well. Working on it. Yeah, cool.
Nice.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, we one thing I guess we can share. I believe you didn't join us at that time. So we have actually very big conference coming in Ukraine, right, in Kyiv, USGCon. It's Ukrainian Information Security Group Conference.
Nice.
So if you want to visit Ukraine, we have CFP
All right. When is it?
and so on. It's in October 26th. Right?
October 26th.
Yeah.
If everything is fine. Yeah, I think it's yes or something. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, just
send you some information. We're actually creating CTF for this conference, but it will be for students, more for students, like for beginners. But yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Cool.
Okay,
All
thank you very much. I guess it's already
Absolutely.
more time than expected.
Yeah.
Please make DEF CON happen, so you shouldn't blame us.
Thank you for coming. It was great.
We'll see, guys. We'll see. All right, guys. Nice
Okay,
talk.
bye.
Bye. Have a nice evening or good day, wherever you are. Ciao.
Bye.
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 Bye.